The first time you step foot into Toad Town in Paper Mario is a really special moment. In the beginning of the game, you get a nice glimpse through a cutscene, but when you're able to finally start walking around, it really just feels massive. Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64 is my favorite game of all time, but one of the best parts about it is that Toad Town feels like home. It's always bustling, alive, and changing as the game goes on. You know, I could probably spend a couple hours doing a video on why Toad Town is just absolutely phenomenal, but it starts off right in the beginning of the game when you don't have access to the southern area of Toad Town, and they create kind of a narrative where some building materials fell down and blocked your way, and you have to keep progressing to the game to get access to this area. There's also a ton of chatty and lively characters throughout Toad Town that make the world truly feel alive, but also help you out with what you're supposed to do and give you kind of a sense of direction as well. And once you return, progressing the story and completing certain objectives, you're usually rewarded with a change in dialogue, scenery, or even access to new areas. And I'm showing you guys that right now with access to flower fields in the beautiful flower garden in what I call the center of Toad Town, or even access to the bad shop, which in the beginning of the game they're just getting set up. It's these subtle, delicate changes like these that makes Toad Town a part of the ongoing adventure. It's not just large or nice to look at, it's evolving and ongoing. And every time you return after moving a bit further along, you can always expect something different to appear, or someone to say something new, or to have more information at your disposal. Toad Town is broken up into 6 sections, so I'd like to start in the west section first, right by the entrance, where you can finally go to Mario's house. You see this at the beginning of the game, but being able to travel here and either talk to Luigi or read some of his diary is pretty cool. In the northeastern part of the town is the first building, which is a library for Toad Town, where Rusty can give you some information on any documents you might find later in the game. Well-written characters like Rusty have no problem telling you how smart he is and how well-read he is, and how much knowledge he'll have if you need his help in the future. Southwest of that is a giant house with the Toad family, going through a lot of boredom and sadness over the current situation without the castle. Dead north in the west area is the first item shop you run into, called Shroom Grocery, and you only have access to some limited items here, but for the start of the game it gives you an opportunity to stock up on some things you might need. East of the large moat, you have the 3 beautiful sisters hanging around, and they always have some interesting dialogue, and you can find them in multiple locations throughout the game. Furthest east, where you have the blue house and the stairs, is the dojo, which serves as like a side quest gauntlet of honing your skills, where you can earn certificates, kind of just to show off. A certain toad in the town will even congratulate you for getting far enough, and the master is no joke, so you'll have to prepare to beat him. Directly east of the entrance area, you have what I call the central area of Toad Town, where you'll see a sign that has the Toad Town news. Merlin's spinning magical house is the first house to the top left. Merlin helps you out in the beginning of the game and also can give you some guidance. The post office directly to the right, in my opinion, is one of the coolest areas in Toad Town. Throughout the game, as you progress through the story, you'll constantly get new mail from old foes and friends, which gives an excellent sense of fulfillment that the NPC stories are also unfolding just like yours are as you continue to play through the game. Just to the right of the post office, you have a Toad house, which lets you basically heal up and restore your star energy. This was pretty useful, seeing as it was in the center of Toad Town in case you're doing some extra grinding or returning from another area. Just like we discussed towards the start of the video, to cap off the center of Toad Town, you have access to buying badges left and the flower garden to the right. When you head through the central area's star door, the big blue one in the north, you get to see where Princess Peach's castle once was. To the east of here is one of the most beautiful areas in the game, which is Shooting Star Summit. I honestly used to just come here and sit and watch the stars sometimes, and it's really cool that it's so close to Toad Town. Through the flower garden, you eventually get access to flower fields, another one of the most beautiful areas in the game, to be honest. And finally, when heading east, you get access to Pleasant Path, which leads to Chapter 1. In what I like to call Toad Town Central South, you have Tasty's house right on the top left. He can cook you certain recipes using your items, and he's very useful later in the game when you unlock the cookbook to make even better items. The blue house to the left of Tasty's house you don't have access to right away.
No buffering, it's really hard. Oh my god.
But it leads to a pipe that takes you to Rip Cheeto, a shady character that sells you items for 64 coins each. Southwest of both these buildings, it says private on the sign, but it takes you to the Toad Town tunnels, which takes you all throughout underneath Toad Town. Capping off the central southern area is a guard who's spooked out by a bunch of boos giving him some trouble. When you head east, the path only gets spookier as you head deep into Forever Forest, which is a big part of Chapter 3. Heading south of this area, the southernmost part of Toad Town leads to access to the game room on the west side where you can earn some extra coins by playing some mini games, a little oink dispenser on the right east side, which leads to the ability to basically get good items. Honestly though, I've only used the little oink dispenser to watch the little pigs jump around. I just find a lot of joy in that. Most importantly though, at the bottom of this area, you have access to the Toad Town Station, which takes you to Mount Rugged, and probably one of the coolest cutscenes early in the game. When you jump on the train, it does its... and you're off your way to Mount Rugged in the desert. Heading west of the South Central area, you run into Chet Rippo, not to be confused with Rip Cheeto. He lets you basically trade coins to upgrade your BP, HP, or FP at a price of decreasing one of your stats as well. To the left of Chet Rippo, you have Harry's item shop, which gives you much better items for later game. And then directly to the left of that item shop is two sisters in a luxurious home. The final building in this area looks like just an empty house, but it actually gives you access to Shy Guy's toy box, which hands down might have been the most creative and coolest entrance to a new chapter. The final area, which I refer to as the port, has a funny odd-looking fisherman near the water. He has some issues with his bait named Fuzzy, which also causes some problems for this nice whale over here. I don't know what makes this scene always so impressive to me, but it's always so cool sailing on this whale, knowing you're off on another journey to Mount Lava Lava Island. And last but not least, we have the hottest venue in all of Toad Town, Club 64, with its appetizing menu outside, catchy music, it's the hottest spot to be. There's also a side quest built into here that leads to an attack sound effects badge, where this cool and suave bartender is actually pretty good on the strings. Now obviously it's been 20 years, the visuals have definitely aged, but I still get that same sense of nostalgia every time I enter Toad Town. I decided to look up online and see what other people thought makes a good hub world, what qualities do they share. One of the first things I read was that a hub should make you feel like there's a deeper world than what you can see, than what you're experiencing. And I'd say Paper Mario excels at that and more. I mean, everything is interconnected. There's a nice location for pipes and pathing to new areas, and although in the distance, because of the limitations of the time, you don't really see much else, you do know that it exists around you. Another thing I read is that it offers a sense of security or community, and I think Paper Mario also excels extremely well at both of those. Whenever I head back to Toad Town, I know I'm not going to run into any encounters or be, surprised or shocked with anything, except for in one specific chapter when all chaos breaks loose. If you played the game, you know exactly what chapter I'm talking about. But the sense of community is also perfect here. Not only do you have the post office, but you have all these characters to interact with that change their dialogue constantly depending on what chapter you're in. I mean, it's perfect. And the final thing I read that makes a great hub world is basically a reason to keep coming back. Now, although Paper Mario kind of forces you to come back to Toad Town, you have two different item shops here. You have some side quests involved in Club 64, you have the dojo in one area, you have the little oinks, you have the game room. I mean, you have Merlin, which helps you in case you get stuck in the game, gives you kind of some help, some push to tell you where to go next. I mean, it has everything in it, and it's also great because it has the sewer system, which gives you a much faster way to access all the old areas you've been to rather than how you originally did. Toad Town is my favorite hub world in my favorite video game on the N64.